Every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is a story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides on political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Good evening and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Omotayo Alo. And first, our major story. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, has handed down a 3-month deadline to officers and men with pot bellies to trim down or face the consequence. The Labour Party is not impressed with the information released by the presidency from the asset declaration forms of President Muhammad Buhari and his deputy, Yemi Osinbajo. And on the foreign sin, a Syrian father on Friday buried his wife and 2 little boys who drowned as they tried to flee to Europe. And now the news in full. Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, has handed down a 3-month deadline to officers and men with pot bellies to trim down or face the consequence. He handed down the directive at an early morning route march exercise organized for the Nigerian Army personnel in Abuja. Buratai, who led over 1,000 soldiers in the exercise, expressed concerns over the physical fitness of many officers and men, especially as they face the challenge of combating terrorism. The defense correspondent, Pius Samuel, witnessed the early morning exercise and filed in this report.
You will also recall that Nigerian Army some time ago instituted a committee to review the recent disciplinary cases in the service, especially of those soldiers in the defunct Operation Zaman Lafia, the aim of which was to ensure discipline, regimentation, and justice in the system. The committee has concluded its sitting last week and has made certain recommendations that led to the reinstatement of 3,032 soldiers into the Nigerian Army out of 5,000 cases that were reviewed. The reinstated soldiers have shown their total readiness to be relaunched back into the theater to combat the insurgency and have now commenced training at the Nigerian Army Training Center, Kontagora, Niger State. This training is to reorient affected soldiers and prepare them for this closing stage of the operational aspect of the counter-insurgency operations with more weapons and new leadership.
Nigeria Immigration Service has unveiled the plan to impose a penalty to the tune of 400,000 naira on visitors from outside the economic community of West African states who overstay their visa in excess of 180 days. According to a statement signed by the NIS Public Relations Officer Emeka Obual on Thursday in Abuja, the new Controller General, Martins Abashi, unveiled the plan and all the operational reforms at an inaugural meeting with 5 Deputy Controller General, 29 Assistant Controller General, and 56 controllers under the E-Pass project, codenamed Trusted Traveler Scheme. All non-ECOWAS visitors to Nigeria who intend to stay in excess of 56 days will be required to register and pay a fee equivalent of $200 while those who overstay their visas in excess of between 90 and 180 days will pay a penalty of an equivalent of $1,000. Beshi further disclosed that the NIS, in partnership with its technical partner Messrs. Kant, would soon introduce the e-pass project, while pledging that his administration would check insecurity at the nation's international borders by reinvigorating the Air Border Patrol Unit. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar said the first 100 days in office of President Muhammad Buhari has reinforced his confidence that Nigeria is on the path of progress and a bright future. He said in a press statement released by his media office that President Buhari's first 100 days in office clearly indicated that Nigeria is witnessing a marked departure from the culture of impunity and apathy in governance. According to Atiku, even within the first 100 days, Nigerians could clearly see real proofs that the country is moving in the right direction. This he attributes to the president's style of leadership by example. The former vice president noted that the Buhari administration has so far succeeded in blocking revenue leakages and diversions which feed corruption. He added that Boko Haram terrorists are for the first time facing a faster response from newly motivated armed forces because of the new offensive strategy adopted by the government. Labour Party is not impressed with information released by the presidency from the assets declaration firms of President Muhammad Buhari and his deputy Yemi Osinbajo. It insists that the details are not in line with laid-down procedures in asset declaration. The party's national secretary, Kayode Ajilo, told CoreTV News that assets of the spouses of the president and his deputy should also be listed. We bring you details of that in our subsequent bulletin. Meanwhile, a civil society organization, the Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project, says the public declaration of assets by President Muhammad Buhari and the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has set the tone for a culture of transparency in governance. The group, in a statement on Thursday by its executive director Adetokunbo Mumuni, lauded Buhari and Osinbajo for the gestures, saying they had demonstrated that transparency in governance is not a mirage. It expressed the hope that this public declaration of assets by the president and the vice president would bring about the needed transformation in institutional framework for fighting corruption in Nigeria. It, however, urged them to ensure that all the top government officials and the ministers to be appointed take a cue from them. And also, one of the promises made by President Muhammad Buhari just before he assumed office was to publicly declare his assets within the first 100 days, but shortly after, one of his media aides, Gabashew, let out details of the asset listed and the funds deposited at the Code of Conduct Bureau. Nigerians have been expressing their views. Basi Aye spoke with some residents of Abuja and filed in this report. We bring you that details also later. Activist lawyer Festus Keyamo wants President Muhammad Buhari to launch an investigation into the use of household kerosene as aviation fuel. He described the act as the height of man's inhumanity to man because of the implication of using kerosene to fuel aircraft. Keyamo said in an open letter to the president that revelation that it could be the cause of incessant air crashes in the country and is not enough reason to take a second look at the activities of oil marketers and airline operators. The lawyer argued that many of the marketers who get the product at the regulated price of 40 naira 90 kobo end up diverting it to the airlines at the rate of 140 naira a litre. He listed the dangerous implications of the use of household kerosene as aviation fuel to include significant damage to the aircraft and engine, fuel system corrosion, clogging of fuel filtration components, failure of aircraft fuel system instrumentation, and stopping of the fuel supply to the engine during flight. We take a break now and we'll be back with more. Stay with us.
This is what the people are saying.
You don't run a big economy with generator. They need to do more.
in terms of energy and power.
Many things to do for this Nigeria about lights, water, and nudity.
For Nigerians that are not gullible, we know that good laws have done nothing good for this country.
Buhari won the election convincingly.
Talk to her husband that you should keep promise about what you said, because people are watching you. You know, another election is coming.
Because some people will stand for Yoruba land, will be strong man. You don't die.
This nation is moving forward. The best is going to take place.
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
Some pundits believe that as long as the political system is driven by selected few, corruption may be difficult to fight.
You should be careful about what you say.
I am not the only politician. Even if I've wronged anyone, it's time to forgive me.
Please Arena every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. and a repeat broadcast every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m.
Welcome. Many viewers joining us as CoreTV Primetime News. And here is a quick reminder of our major stories. Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai has handed down a 3-month deadline to officers and men with bad bellies to trim down or face the consequence. Labour Party is not impressed with information released by the presidency from the assets declaration funds of President Muhammad Buhari and his deputy Yemi Osinbajo. President Muhammad Buhari has congratulated Most Reverend Josiah Idofe on his appointment as the Secretary General of the Consultative Council of the African Communion worldwide, and indeed the first African to hold the position. And now the news in full. Governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, has joined the fray of people condemning the invasion of Akwa Ibom State Government House by the men of the Department of State Security. Fayose described the ransack as a plot by the All Progressive Congress APC to subvert the popularity of the PDP in Akwa Ibom and the South-South region of the country, while it calls for the sack of the Director General of the Security Agency. Lal Dara Rashid reports from Ado-Ekiti.
The visitation of the men of the Department of State Security to the Akwa Ibom State Government House at Uyo, the state capital, has elicited reactions. At a press briefing addressed by Larry Olayinka, the media aide to the Ekiti State Governor, Ayodele Fayose, held on Friday in Ado-Ekiti, the invasion is a political plot by the APC-led federal government.
On the barbaric act of the DSS yesterday and other actions of the security service under Alhaji Lawal Daura in the last few weeks, one can conclude that Daura is taking Nigeria back to the 1994 era of General Muhammadu Buhari, and this is unfortunate. No doubt, the Director General of DSS, Lawal Daura, is acting out a sinister script of taking over PDP-controlled states in the South-South and Southeast by whatever means.
While the Ekiti PDP-led government expressed fear that it might be the turn of Ekiti State to be ransacked, the governor's spokesperson called for the sack of the Director General of the DSS, Lawal Daura.
If Lawal Daura continues with this use of DSS to harass, intimidate, and assault the Constitution of Nigeria, President Buhari may have to show to Nigeria that he's not a party to the use of the security agency to reshunt his political opponent by sacking the DG DSS.
As reactions continue to trail the compulsory retirement of the agency's former spokesperson, Marilyn Oga, Nigerians wait for an official response from the DSS to clear the air on the Akwa Ibom Government House ransack. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado-Ekiti.
In Imo, the Amakwoha Oji Bridge has finally been revisited after several years of abandonment. The bridge that would have helped traffic situation in the city of Owerri could not, as a result of what residents describe as negligence on the part of both past and present administration. Ajibade, our officer, has more in this report. Well, we also bring you details of that later. President Muhammad Buhari has congratulated Most Reverend Josiah Fair on his appointment as the Secretary General of the Consultative Council of the African Communion worldwide, and indeed the first African to hold the position. In a letter delivered to Fair in London on the occasion of his commissioning into the new post, President Buhari said that all Nigerians were proud of his elevation into one of the most important offices in the world of faith. The president applauded Bishop Fair's own emergence after a highly competitive selection process. He wished Bishop Fair and God's guidance and success at his new post in the Anglican Communion Office in London. The presiding pastor of Lateran Assembly, Tunde Bakari, says lack of preparation for leadership positions is one of the major challenges of development in Nigeria. Bakari disclosed this during the graduation ceremony of the Lateran Assembly Summer School. Abiola Oluwole has more in this report.
The 6-week summer coaching organized by the Lateran Assembly with concentration in mathematics and English language, according to the church, is to engage students while on vacation. Addressing participants at the graduation ceremony of the summer school, the presiding pastor of the church, Tunde Bakari, described inadequate training for leadership position as the clog in the wheel of the nation's development.
Most of our leaders did not look for the job, they begged them to take it. Shagari was going to be a senator. They lured him to become president. He had no idea about presidency whatsoever. He just wanted to be a senator. He was a primary school teacher. So was Tafawa Balewa, the first prime minister. He was a primary school teacher. Groomed by Sir Ahmadu Bello, sent to Lagos while he was holding a stronghold of northern politics in Kaduna, now Kaduna State. Yaradua had served as governor of Katsina for 2 terms and was returning to lecture her when they dragged him in spite of his ill health to come and serve the nation. Jonathan was the deputy governor. Just wanted to contest for the office of the governor when they hijacked him to come to the highest club in the country, not trained for, did not know what to do there, and you saw the confusion that enveloped the nation for 5 years. And I'm wondering now, have we gotten our acts right?
Bakari also urged the students to be upright wherever they find themselves. Participants say the class has availed them the opportunity of channeling their effort positively.
They taught us how to always ask, how to always want to learn, both from the old and from the young people. After the day I came to the school, I started answering questions and have courage to talk to people.
The ceremony came to climax with the presentation of gifts and certificates to participants. Abiola Oluwole, CoreTV News, Lagos.
We'll take another break now and we'll be back with business and stories from outside Nigeria. Stay tuned.
Is it what crazy or autocracy? Or what type of crazy is that? Except crazy.
News making the headlines.
Black Maria is to carry criminals, trading looters that are in government today.
Sometimes it gets confrontational.
Slap you in the face. They don't put words into my mouth. Whatever it is that will bring our military to disrepute, I said to hell.
On Core Digest,
I want to know why I should be believing them.
Every weekday, we bring all of these together and take them to the court of public opinion.
Everybody has a right in Nigeria.
Where you are the judge.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV Leave a space, then news. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
And now to business. Nigerian entrepreneurs are pushing the frontiers of foreign direct investment on the African continent. Banker Tony Elumelu, whose $100 million entrepreneurship foundation has already benefited young people in 54 African countries, and businessman Aliko Dangote, whose investments span 17 African countries, are two Nigerians doing the country proud as drivers of African private sector led foreign direct investment. Dangote had said Africans should drive foreign investment in Africa, stressing that there should be a departure from the past when Africans waited for foreigners to come and invest on the continent. During the recent inauguration of another cement plant in Cameroon, he said this plant is the largest greenfield project in a neighboring country, which is not only going to share a boundary but also a long history of brotherly relationship dating from colonial days. On this part, Elumelu maintained that what Nigerian entrepreneurs had done by investing in sister African states could be termed African capitalism. And to foreign, a Syrian father on Friday buried his wife and two little boys who drowned as they tried to flee to Europe. 3-year-old Alan Cody was laid to rest alongside his mother and 5-year-old brother at the Matthias Cemetery in the Syrian town of Kobani. Little Erlen drowned with his brother Galip, his mother at least 9 others while trying to cross into 2 small boats through the Greek island of Kos, just a few kilometers away. Images of the tiny body of Erlen washed up on the beach near the Turkish resort of Bodrum gave a human face to the height of it all and prompted a global outpouring of sympathy. Desperate and angry migrants had made to escape conflict and poverty, with hundreds breaking out of a Hungarian camp while others set off on foot from Budapest, hoping to find sanctuary in northern Cameroon. More than 300,000 people have crossed to Europe by sea so far this year, and more than 2,600 have died doing so. Many of those making the voyage are refugees from the civil war in Syria, now in its 5th year. In the latest report by International Organization for Immigration, about 30 to 40 people drowned in the Mediterranean off the coast of Libya after a dinghy carrying 120 to 140 Somalis, Sudanese and Nigerians deflated, causing panic on board. Meanwhile, head of the United Nations Refugee Agency, Antonio Guterres, has called on the European Union to mobilize its full force to help the migrants. And David Cameron is expected to allow thousands more Syrian refugees to resettle in the UK. The extra refugees are expected to come from UN camps bordering Syria and not from among people already in Europe. The Prime Minister has previously said accepting more people was not the simple answer to the worsening humanitarian crisis. Laura Kuensenberg said Downing Street had found itself behind the curve amid public and media reaction to the UK's position. The Prime Minister, who is currently in Lisbon for talks with the Portuguese counterpart, is expected to set out more details later before travelling to Madrid for discussions with the Spanish Prime Minister. And now to the world of sport.
Our style, that's what he delivered. with a flying lead.
Taking them out in the lead.
Former Nigerian goalkeeper Joe Eriko has said Nigeria can beat Tanzania when the two sides meet on Saturday in a 2017 African Cup of Nations qualifying match in Dar es Salaam without the team's captain, Vincent Eyama. Eriko says Nigeria coach Sunday Olise has capable replacements in roles Carl Ikeme, Sunshine Stars, Ikechukwu Ezenwa and Eyimbe's Femi Records. The former NEPA Lagos manager had nothing wrong with Enyeme's absence from the team because he knows his level of fitness. Meanwhile, CSK Moscow star Ahmed Musa has promised to captain Nigeria to victory against Tanzania on Saturday. He will captain the country in Dar es Salaam in absence of Eyama, as Eyama had excused himself to attend family issues. Manchester United have hit back again at Real Madrid over David De Gea's failed move by reiterating that the Spanish club are at fault. Madrid president Florentino Perez has claimed that the United took 8 hours to return contracts and felt a lack of experience resulted in De Gea's proposed move. Madrid have issued a lengthy statement supposedly detailing the events surrounding De Gea's move, which would have seen Keylor Navas join Luis van Gaal's side. But United have now refuted the allegations from Perez. Tottenham striker Emmanuel Adebayo has been left out of his club's 25-man Premier League squad for the rest of the year. Adebayo had been expected to leave White Hart Lane before the transfer window closed on Tuesday, but Tottenham was unable to find a buyer for the Togo international. The 31-year-old former Arsenal and Manchester City star, who reportedly earns $100,000 a week, was also being left out of Tottenham's Europa League squad. Adebayo has rarely been selected by Tottenham manager Mauricio Pochettino, who opted to ask the player from his squad despite missing out on a deal for West Brom forward Sergio Moreno this week. Adebayo has been a peripheral figure at White Hart Lane since the departure of manager Ari Kane in 2012. Red campaign brought Adebayo to Tottenham during his last season at the club, but his successor, Andre Villas-Boas, quickly dropped the erratic striker. And it's a wrap on our stories for tonight, but let's have a quick reminder of our major stories. Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuko Buratai, has handed down a 3-month deadline to officers and men with pot bellies to trim down or face the consequence. Labour Party is not impressed with the information released by the presidency from the Assets Declaration funds of President Muhammad Buhari and his deputy Yemi Oshimajo. President Muhammad Buhari has congratulated Most Reverend Josiah Idowu Farron on his appointment as the Secretary General of the Consultative Council of the Anglican Communion Worldwide, and indeed the first African to hold the position. And it's a wrap on CoreTV Primetime News. My name is Omotayo Alo. Thank you so very much for watching. Have a good night rest.